seated. Imagine with me for a few moments the life of this woman who had what is called here hemorrhage, an issue of blood, some translations say. For the last 12 years of her life, she had undergone such suffering, such misery. And I think if you put one word upon what she was experiencing, it would be disappointment. Because it said she had spent all her money on and had suffered at the hands of many physicians. It wasn't like she just spent everything at one time on one doctor and then that didn't work and that was it. How many times she had heard, oh, this new doctor, Dr. So-and-so, over here in the town next door, he has a miraculous cure for exactly what your ailment is. Go and see him. Pay him whatever he requests because he'll take care of you. He will make you healed. She would go. However she could get there. Pay him the money. He would do whatever he did for other people, but she would get nothing but disappointment. Then perhaps later, some other time, somebody else would say, oh, there's another doctor, and he has reported great success. Just give him what he asks for, and he will heal you of this hemorrhage. Again, it was something that stirred up in her and says, I'll go try that one. And she would struggle her way to that doctor's office, pay him what he required. He would do whatever his treatment was. She would wait for results, and again, be disappointed. Who knows how many times? It wasn't just once. Many times over 12 years, she would entrust her life, entrust her money to a different doctor, quack sometimes, probably whatever they would call themselves, and every time, disappointed. Every time, disappointed. So that at the end of 12 years, she was still afflicted with her issues of internal bleeding. And by now she was broke. Because all of the time she had invested money in her hope, she was disappointed. St. Paul, the same thing. He was writing to the churches of Galatia. A lot of times we don't stop and think, what were the churches of Galatia? And there's a couple of different ideas about where the area this term Galatia was, because in different periods of history, there was different parts of the area there. But the most common idea is that this is the area that Paul visited on his early journeys. Cities like Pisidian Antioch, cities like Idumea, cities like Derbe, Lystra, those whom we read about in Acts chapter 13 and 14. And Paul had done many great things in those areas. Paul had healed people in those areas. Paul had planted successful churches in those areas. And Paul had revisited those areas almost every time he went on a missionary journey. In fact, as the scripture tells us, he visited them early in his journey, then on the way back, he visited them again. They were visited numerous times. Paul was probably expecting maturity from those churches. And instead, what he got was, as he said in this letter, how quickly you've turned away from the gospel that I gave you. He sowed his lifeblood into those churches. In some of the places he was stoned. In some of the places he was run out of town. He was mistreated in every one of those, and yet he gave his life. In many ways, he gave his blood for those churches, just like the woman in the story in the gospel. He also issued blood for the sake of the churches. And he was disappointed. The woman experienced much disappointment from the doctors. Paul experienced disappointment from these churches in Galatia. And yet, how did they respond? After 12 years of disappointment, you would think that the woman, when she heard, oh, there's another healer, this person named Jesus, she would probably say, again? Well, I'm not falling for it this time. That wasn't her response at all. Her response was, if I just touch his garments, I'll get well. And Jesus said, you still have faith. That faith has made you well. After so many disappointments, after so many times she's let down, she could still say, if I just touch. St. Paul, after the churches had turned aside to a different gospel, he just didn't say, well, Ichabod, I'm shaking the dust off my feet. I did the best I could for you guys, poured myself into you guys, and you let me down. You disappointed me. Never mind. I'll go to the other churches. That wasn't his attitude either. Even after this disappointment, he still continued to work, and he wrote this letter. And he continued to visit them whenever he was having a missionary journey. What was it that caused Paul? What was it that caused the lady with the issue of blood, the hemorrhage? What caused them to keep going in the face of many disappointments? I would just give one word to us this morning. And I hope this would apply to all of us, because we've all been disappointed. Where Paul was not alone. The woman with the issue of blood was not alone. We've all been disappointed. Basically by people. Because people will always let you down sooner or later. That's just kind of the way it is. But what kept Paul and this lady, even though disappointed many times, what kept them going? What kept them believing? Simple word. Hope. They still had hope in the face of many disappointments. And as it tells us in Romans 5:5, that is critically important, because it says their hope does not disappoint. Man will disappoint us. It's not a matter of they might, you just will. Because people are people. But hope does not disappoint. And because Paul still had that hope, he still kept working with those churches in Galatia. Because that woman with the issue of blood, who knows where that hope came from, but from somewhere within her, there was hope. That doctor failed me. That doctor failed me. For 12 years, man has failed me. But I know somewhere there's somebody that I can put my hope in. And I've heard about this Jesus. Perhaps it's him. I'll just touch his cloak and I'll be healed. Somewhere that hope was able to stir up within that lady. Somewhere that hope was able to stir up within St. Paul. How about us? In the midst of our disappointments, can we still hold on to hope? The hope that does not disappoint. And I would just leave one word with you. Where does this hope come from? In Ephesians 1:18, we've heard it many times, that you can know the hope of your calling. Which seems kind of ironic, because sometimes the calling seems like the source of our disappointments. Maybe that's where we are right now. But I would just encourage us, turn that around. Because your calling is never to be a source of disappointment. Paul said, remember the hope of your calling. That you might remember the hope of your calling. Never let go of the hope of your calling. Because that hope will not disappoint. Men may disappoint. Men may misunderstand. Men may who knows what. But they're just men. They're not more powerful than hope. Hope is the one that will not disappoint. And the hope of your calling, we hold on to that and be strong in that. That hope will not disappoint you ever. It's just what I wanted to share with you this morning. Actually, it came to me last night, kind of in the middle of a dream, in a way. So I knew it was for us. Knew it was for us. Don't give up the hope of your calling, because that hope does not disappoint. Just stand.